All I can say is that it's gonna be thick. What's up, guys? That guy with a pencil here. Fun fact, I do to have it on me and keep it on me at all times. And another fun fact, I have 10 minutes to discuss just how long I think Blue Lock is going to be. So let me start this timer right this instant and not waste any more time. Okay, so Blue Lock has entered its next stage. Quite obviously, we ended the New U20 League at chapter 300, and we are now in the next phase, the U20 World Cup. And with that being the case, with everything rising, the tension building, the last couple chapters being about setting up the future of Blue Lock in a way, not just obviously the future of these characters, but the future of the concept and how it's going to be interacting with the world, we gotta talk about the future of the manga and just how long this bad boy's gonna go. I've had many different thoughts back and forth, many different reviews. Sometimes I think it's gonna be longer, sometimes I think it's gonna be shorter, but this time, before I ended up recording this video, I ended up taking a glance, a look, a dive deep into the community to see what the community consensus was on what Blue Lock's length is going to be, and I can't find an answer, so let me see if I can give you one of my own. Typically, it seems like the fandom is split into two separate theories on how long Blue Lock is going to be, and it really depends on how consistent the 150 chapter thing is going to be, and whether or not you think we're going to get a club arc. Those are the two heavy, meaty, thick chopper slammers, because there are some things that are kind of just either set in stone or basically have to happen for the narrative to make any sense. The one thing that is set in stone is that the U20 World Cup arc and the final World Cup arc have to happen. Like, that's not even like a question. They need to exist. Why? Number one, because we're literally building to the U20 World Cup arc. That's what this entire chapter and the past couple chapters have been about, building to the U20 World Cup arc. But also, it's for the fact that we've set up Noel Noah as the number one striker in the world. Thusly, we need to take down Noel Noah as the number one striker in the world. I mean, the final World Cup arc has to happen with our cast and crew beating Noel Noah. Very specifically, Isagi Yoichi defeating Noel Noah. So, obviously, that kind of needs to happen. But there is an in-between arc. An arc that dances between the line of fiction and reality. A world that could be darker than dark. It is simply the idea of the club arc. Now, as you know, the end of the New U20 League set up everyone with a salary, some payments, some big money. You know that good paper. But there seems to be a bit of hot debate on whether or not we're actually going to cover that in the manga, or if we're going to get something similar to this, and in between the U20 World Cup arc and the actual World Cup arc, and then we're going to immediately leap into the actual World Cup, and we're going to go absolutely boo bonkers, hypothetically off a post-time skip, and just see everybody go absolutely crazy once again. Now, here's the reason why I personally think it's going to be the latter and not the former, where we skip over the U20, well, we're not going to skip over the U20 World Cup arc, obviously, but we're going to skip, or not skip, over the club arc, where we send all of our Blue Lockers into their own individual clubs. They'll do their own thing, and then they come back and reunite for the actual World Cup arc. The reason is, I don't think we're going to do World Cup into World Cup like that. I think it kind of needs a pacing break. Notably, not that I'm saying that kind of Shiro Sensei couldn't write it where it's just boom, 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 but I just don't think that would make too much sense, especially if Blue Lock wins. That's another 50-50 discussion for its own video, whether or not Blue Lock will actually win the U20 World Cup. We'll have to think about that. I have to think about that. Then I'll make my thoughts video on it. But with it being the case, it just doesn't seem like that would be the smartest pacing thing to do. Even if you do like a 20 chapter, say we do a half a year break in between the U20 World Cup's ending and the start of the real World Cup, it just doesn't feel like it would fit, especially with all the build up to these salaries. We have certain characters having things set up with their salaries, such as, you know, Ajax's deal with Yuki Maya and how they're going to end up paying to help his vision. Obviously, we have the whole idea of Rin, Kaiser, and Sei all being on the same team at Real. We obviously have Isagi being locked back to BM and hypothetically taking over that team properly. So, like, there's so many different other things that kind of been set up for a hypothetical club arc that I think we are not going to skip it. I was against the club arc happening right after the New U20 League, like I saw a lot of people saying, just because we had it set up that the U20 World Cup was going to come immediately after the New U20 League. But in terms of a solid, meaty, juicy, final preamble arc before the actual U20 World Cup arc, or the actual World Cup arc, I think that's where you slide in the club arc, you wrap up some of those plot lines, you build up the players just one last bit, and then you throw them into the World Cup. But obviously, that was just like the logical thing of it. How many arcs are we going to have left? How many major, like, multi-hundred or multi-tens of chapter arcs are we going to have? The next question is, are we going to stick to the 150 formula? If you don't know what the 150 formula is, fun fact, all of part 1 of Blue Lock, part 1, aka the start of first selection all the way to the end of the 20 game, was one section of Blue Lock. It was 150 chapters, start to finish, bada bing, bada boom. The New U20 League was chapter 151 to chapter 300. New U20 League End, part 2, Blue Lock End, bada bing, bada boom. We made it all the way through those, so those are both 150 chapters. The question is, are we going to stick to that? My answer, Probably not. And the reason I say that is because of what these last couple chapters have been in terms of pacing. If we were going to try and bang throughout the entire U20 World Cup arc in 150 chapters, even if we go with the lowest estimates I've seen people say that Blue Lock can play as low as 5 games and still get to like the last round of the U20 World Cup. I've seen people say it could be as many as 10. Regardless, even if we go with the idea that some of the early matches will be super quick paced because they won't be obviously fighting a whole bunch of demons, they're going to be fighting some lower level teams, some higher level teams. I think it's kind of absurd to imagine full 90-minute games being wrapped up in 150 chapters, even if there's just 5 of them. Say there's just 3 of them. I just don't think it can happen. Remember, the Neo Aegis League was 4 games! 4 real, full, complete games start to finish, and it still took 150 chapters. Bare minimum 5. I don't think the 150 chapter thing is going to be a limit. I really don't. I genuinely think that is going to expand. So that adds on extra length, extra girth. The extra thing about the extra length and the extra girth is what will we do in terms of filling out this period, and how long will Kaneshiro Sensei decide to fill out that period for the U20 World Cup, and by proxy the club arc after that, and by proxy the actual World Cup arc after that, where presumably Blue Lock becomes the #1 in the world. I'm smelling the U20 World Cup probably hitting about 200 chapters. You may be like, whoa, Pencil Man, that sounds absolutely insane, Buku Bonkers. You know that means that Blue Lock will be 500 chapters before or right at the end of the U20 World Cup, right? And like, yeah, I get that does sound insane, but for all intents and purposes, the past section of the manga has all been building to the U20 World Cup arc. The Neo Aegis League came out of nowhere, and that was 150 chapters. Realize, all 3 selections, the World 5 match, and the first U20 game, was 150 chapters. The whole Neo Aegis League, which once again I must emphasize was 4 games, came out to 150. 150. So I think an even 200 is not really all too crazy. But of course, that leads to the question, okay, if that's going to be an even 200, Pencil Man, how long do you think this hypothetical club arc that you think needs to happen is going to be? That one's debatable, really, because of how much time we're going to spend with other characters in that club arc versus Isagi within that club arc, and also the cancellation of episode Nagi, how that's going to play into it. Notably, that arc has potential to have a bunch of different perspectives, kind of like the Neo Aegis League did, but we didn't get too much of the Neo Aegis League doing that because of how heavily it was in Isagi's story. And of course, Blue Lock is Isagi's story, so I wouldn't be shocked if the club arc was simply focused around Isagi, but at the same time, I think considering that would be the actual penultimate arc before the U20 World Cup, we probably would have to... we probably would actually have to lean into Isagi a bit more there. The reason I say that is because I think the U20 World Cup arc is going to be a real Blue Lock showcase, aka every single character is going to have a game that is dedicated to them. Sort of like a more evolved version of the Neo Aegis League format, where every single character got a moment or a goal or an interaction to shine. I think there are going to be whole games dedicated to certain swaths of characters, since we've been building up this whole solid 23 for this point. So if the U20 World Cup arc is going to be 200 chapters long, I could easily see the club arc either being another 200 chapters or 150. Going back to that lower metric, if it goes back to an Isagi-focused story, considering the U20 World Cup arc would be a branch story. I only have 1 minute and 50 seconds left. Let's talk about the length of the final arc, the actual World Cup arc. I could probably see that bad boy hitting another 200. And that may be lowballing it. Mainly because there's going to be so much we have to wrap up there. Because the U20 World Cup arc really is just build up to the final World Cup arc. Remember, we're going to probably meet the rest of the new Gen 11. We're going to set up new rivalries, new developments, new antagonists. All that is going to be set up and building to something else. Then, of course, we're going to have the club arc, which is probably going to go back and build into other things. And, of course, we have all the older players that we're going to have to come back, whirl around, and beat, a.k.a. your Chris Princes, a.k.a. your Noel Noahs, a.k.a. the rest of the World 5. And, of course, you still have Loki as an antagonist to deal with. There's so many different things that kind of need to happen in the final Cup arc, the final World Cup arc, that I could see that thing probably even hitting 300 because of how thick and the kind of pacing that Blue Lock has. So, to answer the question that I posed at the start of the video, how long do I think Blue Lock's going to be? I could easily see it hitting 1,000 chapters. Easily. We're already at 300. Assuming the U20 World Cup arc truly is 200, that puts us at 500. Assuming the low end for the club arc after that, which will be at 500, that gets us to 650. So, realistically, a 300 chapter World Cup arc sounds crazy, Sounds absolutely insane, but that would get us to about that 950 to 1,000 range. And once again, I do expect actually like a little bit of cleanup, a little bit of final review afterwards. I don't think we're gonna end with Isayoichi scoring the final goal, holding up the World Cup trophy, and then that's the end of the manga. I don't think that's gonna be the case. I think there is actually going to be some time where we like see the new world, Isayoichi at number 1, and possibly set up like a future. Not like a future we'll actually see, but like a future kid who's been inspired by Isagi, such as the kid we've seen following Isagi throughout the journey so far, and have him be set up as the next person to try and take down the strongest striker in the world, Isagi Yoichi. But of course, I happen to be out of time. So what do you guys think? How long do you think Blue Lock's gonna be? Do you think it's gonna be giga thick? Like, I think possibly hitting that 900 to 1,000 chapter mark. Do you think the arcs are gonna be a lot shorter than I think? Do you think they're gonna be a lot longer? Do you think I'm underestimating Blue Lock's girth? Please let me know in the comment section down below. And if you made it all the way to the end of this video, please leave giga girth. I'm sorry, I don't know why I have girth all over this video, but leave giga girth in the comment section down below. I'd like to thank you so much for watching. Remember to leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, you can have a picture down below where you can support me for as low as $1 a month. Things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. So now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. So those perks include the live reactions, so this season I have to review, ad variations of all my videos, and if you become a $25 Patreon or a $25 member, you can order whatever video you want. Also, the link to my Ko-Fi in the description down below. You drop 5 minutes for a short video, 20 minutes for a long video, or any means at all. Any support is always greatly appreciated. Now, I'd like to thank you so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with the Pencil, writing off. I'd like to give a thank you to our sketch tier members: Eternal Flame, Red Wolf 4765, Astro, Super Flame 0, Glacier XZ, Zera, Brandon Payne, J2MA, Guillaume, Buddha Ura, Alex Kenny, Yuki Ally, Enzo, Nevies97, Zachary Wilson, Azo2404, Planet Crone, Rye Rich, and G Prosper. Then, I'd like to give a thank you to our line art tier patrons: Sean, Midnight Lord 21, Kevin Encarnacion, Dreadzoen, and A+A. Then, I'd like to give a thank you to our Ink tier members: Austin Wimberly, A. Uchiha, and Shrimpo the Shrimp. Then, I'd like to give a thank you to our digital art tier members: J Warrior and AZ Void. Then, I'd like to give a thank you to our colored art tier patrons: Waki Munoz and Waki Munoz. And I think the final Giga Super Gargantuan Legendary Ultimate and even further beyond thank you to our ultimate tier, That Guy with a Pencil tier patron, Calvin Elder.